Alright, this video is about the Chinese carbon clinchers. What the carbon clinchers are the wheel set. It's a specific type of wheel set for carbon wheels, so carbon fiber wheels. And that's what you see right here. When you're talking about carbon clincher, that's the one where you have the tire, and then there's a separate inner tube that goes inside the tire. So you put the inner tube and then you put the tire on. That's called a carbon clincher. That's the clincher. When it says carbon tubular, that means that there is no inner tube in the tire. It's just the tire. So basically what happens is the tire gets glued onto the rim and there's no inner tube at all. That makes the wheel lighter, and a lot of race bikes will have those types of wheels. But the problem with those wheels, those tubulars, is that you need to take it to the shop for them to professionally glue it. You pretty much can't do it yourself. And another problem is they lose air more easily. They could get popped more easily because it only has to puncture through the tire. There's no inner tube for it to, to defeat. So the clinchers, they retain air better, and it's harder to pop, harder to get it flat. But and then you could change out the tire yourself. You don't need to pay extra money out to get it professionally glued on there. So I personally don't like the tubulars at all. I prefer the clinchers, alright, the carbon clinchers. So this is a carbon clincher. It's a carbon fiber wheel with the inner tubes inside. And when I say Chinese carbon clinchers, that's the type that you could order from eBay, and they might even have it on Amazon, but it's like more affordable carbon wheels. The brand name carbon wheels, the two main ones are Mavic and Zip. Mavic and Zip are like the two top quality brands. There's a few others that I've heard that's high quality. I never tried them. I actually never tried Zips either. So I can't really comment too much on the Zips, but the Zips are pretty much the most expensive ones. Zip carbon fiber wheels, brand new, probably run you over $3,000. Mavic carbon wheels will run you under $2,000. So Mavic will be like under $2,000. You might find the Mavic wheels for like $1,600, brand new, a pair of them. And then the Zips, a pair like $3,000 or more. Now these Chinese carbon wheels, these you could probably find for about $500 on eBay. So I have both. I have the Mavic wheels. I have two sets of those, and I've ridden on the Mavic wheels for about 4 years, and I haven't had a problem with the Mavic wheels. But I did spend a lot of money on it, so spent about $1,600 or more, and pretty much costs almost as much as the bike. I mean, the bike obviously, and the bike costs like double, but it's a lot of money for the carbon wheels. And visually I love the way it looks, but the money is just the issue. So I wanted to try out the Chinese carbon wheels to see how they work, but there's not many reviews at all. eBay doesn't have any review system, and there's not enough people purchasing it to even give any feedback on Amazon. So there's really no reviews out there on these carbon clinchers, but my feedback, by the way, it says Zip on here, but these are decals that I purchased, and I put them on there to make it more visually appealing. But normally these Chinese carbon clinchers have no decals. It's just the carbon wheels. Now, riding the carbon wheels, for me, a lot of it is visual. Like, I like the way it looks. I love the way the bike looks with the deep dish wheels. These are actually 80 millimeters, so they go by millimeters. So the Mavic ones that I have on my other bike are 40 millimeters, so it's a little bit smaller, or a lot smaller compared to this. It's like half the size of this one, because these are 80, the other one's 40. The one right there, the Mavic ones right there, are 50 millimeters, and this one's 80 millimeters. They have like 60 millimeters. I think 80 is like one of the deepest that you could get. So the higher the number, the thicker the carbon rim is. Okay. So it's just kind of like based on what type of look that you want. But the deeper that it is supposed to be more aerodynamic. So the concept of these carbon wheels is supposed to be more aerodynamic. It's supposed to cut through the wind more efficiently to make you go faster, or to allow you to go faster. But in the same token, they say that it could be a challenge to ride in the wind if it's crosswinds. So meaning, if you're riding this way and then the wind is going that way, then it could push you over to the side because the wind's hitting against this carbon right there, and it's a thicker carbon, and it's going to be a challenge to ride in crosswinds. But head on the wind, this is supposed to cut through the wind, make you go faster. So that is an aspect. Another thing is they look really nice. You know, it makes the bike look so much better than having aluminum rims. Aluminum rims are stronger, and you know they're stronger. They could last longer, harder to break the aluminum rims. Carbon rims, they're lighter, they're not as strong, and they could break on you, you know, if you don't take care of them. But this is the 80 millimeter. This is the Chinese one, and I'm gonna go over the difference. Like, I would rather have the Chinese ones, the Chinese carbon clinchers, than aluminum rims any day. But comparing the Chinese carbon clinchers to the brand name like Mavic or Zip, clearly I would rather have the Mavic or Zip, but the money thing is a factor. But if money was not a factor, obviously I want the brand name ones. Okay? But is it worth to pay, you know, $1,500 for brand name wheels opposed to $500? Is it worth the extra $1,000? That's the question here. Now, after experiencing both, I would still prefer to have the brand name one and spend that extra $1,000. And I'll explain to you why. It's not that the Chinese carbon rims are exactly the same. I mean, there's differences. Okay, first off, there's no decals that come with it at all, right? And the decals is part of the visual effect that make the rim look even better. In addition, it gives the own uniqueness of the rim. So when people know about bikes and they see the rims, they see the decals, they know that that's a genuine brand name carbon fiber wheel. But when you get a wheel like this and there's no decals on it, you know that it's like the cheap kind. So that's not good. Because you're shelling out all this money for a carbon fiber bike that you're paying over like probably over $3,000, $4,000 for a carbon fiber bike, and then you end up throwing cheap carbon wheels on it, then you see, you know, it's not matching. If you got a brand name carbon fiber bike and then you got cheap, you know, carbon fiber wheels, it doesn't match. You know, if you had a cheap carbon fiber bike, like low quality, not a brand name carbon fiber bike, and you got cheap carbon fiber wheels, then that matches. But it doesn't really match to put, you know, low quality or non-brand name carbon fiber wheels on a brand name carbon fiber bike. But like I said, I would rather have the Chinese carbon clinchers, the cheaper carbon fiber wheels, than to just have the aluminum. The aluminum makes the bike just look horrible. And that's what comes with the carbon fiber bike, you know, stock anyway. But I personally would invest into the higher quality brand name carbon clinchers. Okay, so you got the decals. There's also the different ways that the rim actually looks. Like the carbon on there, on the brand name one, it looks like it's more like higher quality, just the look of it. The other Chinese version, it doesn't look that high quality. I mean, just looking at it. And I'll show you more closely later on. Alright. Other factors. When I received the Chinese carbon clinchers, it came completely disassembled. It wasn't even put in, like, even the spokes weren't even on there. The hubs weren't even on there. You have to bring it to the shop and they have to put it together for you. Rather, when you buy the brand name ones, it comes assembled. You know, like the spokes are already on there, the hubs are already on there. Some of them even put the tires on there ready for you. Some of them throw in the tires in there that come with the wheels. The Chinese carbon clinchers, they didn't come with any tires at all. They just came with the rims and that was it. Alright. Another thing about the Chinese carbon clinchers, the hub, when you look at it, it looks cheaper. Okay? It looks like it's an aluminum hub, which is fine, it's aluminum, but just the way that it's shaped, the way it looks kind of cheap. I don't really like the way it looks as far as the hubs are concerned. It does come with brake pads, like special carbon brake pads, and the brakes work fine. The wheels are pretty true, like it doesn't wobble. But another thing also, the spokes, this nipple on the end right here of the spoke, it looks cheaper. It doesn't really look like the brand name type of spokes. Another thing, when you're riding the Chinese carbon clinchers, it makes a loud clicking noise, and it kind of makes the bike feel cheaper, or the wheels feel cheaper. And that's because of the hub. Now, if you change the hub, you could get rid of that noise, but then you're spending more money and that doesn't make sense. So I'm going to demonstrate all this, you'll see. It makes a louder clicking noise, and that doesn't, the brand name ones don't make that loud noise. It's more of a smooth click. So when you hear this loud clicking noise, then you kind of identify, you know, those are cheaper carbon wheels. Those are not the real brand name carbon wheels. Okay. So those are some of my feedbacks on it. When I did receive it, I had these other wheels on, or these other tires on it, and I did get a few flats, and it was really annoying because I got a flat in the front, and then I got a flat in the back, and then I got another flat in the back. I just kept getting flats. I don't know if it was because of the wheels or if it was because of the tires. I ended up changing the tires to gator skin, which is a very strong tire, and then I haven't really had any more problems from there. One thing that you gotta put in consideration too is when you get a really deep carbon wheel set, like an 80 millimeters, you need to order the proper inner tubes to fit it. You need to get an inner tube that's 80 millimeters. So meaning the stem of the inner tube has to be very, very long in order to fit, the wheels. So that thing, you have to really remember that. Otherwise, you're gonna go through a lot of headache when you're trying to change out your tire. So I prefer the brand name carbon wheels. I'm willing to pay that extra $1,000 for the brand name ones over the Chinese ones after having this experience. Another thing is the brand name carbon clinchers will retain its value. So meaning if you spend $1,600 on brand name carbon wheels, chances are if you want to resell it, you'll still get a good amount of money back, like $1,000 or maybe even more, as long as you take care of it. So it retains its value. But the problem with the Chinese carbon wheels, when you try to sell it, the people will know that's not the genuine brand name carbon wheels, and they're not going to really want to pay you anything for it. So you're not going to really get your money back. If you're spending $500 on it, you'll be lucky that they'll give you $100 for it, or even $200. But if you spend $1,600 on carbon wheels, there's a good chance you can get $1,200 or $1,000 back for those wheels, because very few people will sell you the carbon wheels if it's brand name. It's hard to find it out there. Even buying it used, you still got to pay a lot of money. You got to pay like over $1,000 just for used carbon wheels. All you got to do is just take care of them. So far, when I've been riding the brand name carbon wheels and then I ride Chinese carbon wheels, I haven't had like any issues with them being bent or losing its straightness, remaining true. Like they've been riding fairly decent. But those are the main things. $500 compared to $1,500, it's $1,000 difference. But if you compare $500 to $3,000, then that's a very big difference. Talking about the zip ones, those are a lot of money. And I still haven't bought any zips. I just have the Mavics. But the Mavics are fine with me. But to spend $3,000 on a set of wheels, that's a lot of money. So $500, it's not that bad. It was more like a test run. Now that I tried it out, now I can give a lot better feedback for people that are considering buying the Chinese carbon wheels, because I do have students that ride road bikes, and now they know through my experience how it's like to have Chinese carbon rims or wheels and then the brand name ones. The Chinese ones, there's no brand, it's just unlabeled, So that's why I just keep referring to Chinese carbon wheels, because that's just what it's known by, Now, I've seen some critics say, because I read a lot of comments about this stuff, and some critics will be like, oh, I don't trust the Chinese carbon rims or wheels. They're coming out of China. They're made out of China. It's cheap. But then, to me, it doesn't make sense, because like almost everything's made out of China. So the brand name bike that you have confidence in, it's made out of China. A lot of them, even Cannondale is made out of China. A lot of these bikes are made out of China. Trek, Cannondale, or whatever brand name bikes, Specialized, they're made out of China. So it's just a matter of like, okay, so if these brand name bikes are made out of China, then how can you criticize China to say that they're not capable of making brand name wheels or not, or high quality carbon wheels? It's not about that at all. You know, it's more about, you know, like, you can't just say, oh, you know, they're low quality because they're made out of China. You can't say that. You know, you gotta experience it yourself and see the difference. But you know, I think I've gotten carbon fiber seats from, you know, from the Chinese, or like, you know, basically on eBay. You know, they got more affordable carbon fiber seats and seat posts and handlebars and carbon fiber stems. I've tried that and I'm fine with it. I'm just not. I just don't think it's worth it. It doesn't retain its value when you spend like $400 on carbon fiber handlebars or $400 on carbon fiber seats. It doesn't make sense at all. But to invest into the wheels, it does make sense because the wheels are a huge part of the bike and its efficiency. You got to realize it's the frame, the wheels, and the components like the gears that really make the riding experience, you know, to a higher level. But the seats, the aero bars, the handlebars, the stem, that's really not necessary to have brand name when it comes to those components. But when it comes to the wheels, I really do appreciate the higher quality that the brand name wheels provide. But like I said, I'd much rather have the Chinese carbon rims than the aluminum. But I would rather save the extra money to get the brand name ones. Alright, so let me just show you the difference a little bit on video. I'll show it to you up close, how they look. And then you can see. But another thing is the people that don't know about bikes, like they just don't know. They don't know if this is the real Zip wheels or if it's the Chinese carbon wheels. They don't know. I mean, I've literally had so many compliments from this bike. A lot of compliments from this bike right here. But with my Cannondale, with the Mavic wheel set, it's more low-key. It's not 80 millimeters, it's 40 millimeters. The decals are kind of blacked out, and it doesn't really stand out as much as these wheels do. And I don't really get that many compliments on that bike because people that don't know about bikes, they just don't know. You know, they don't know that it's Chinese carbon wheels or if it's brand name carbon wheels. They don't know. They don't know what Mavic is. They don't know what Zip is. They don't know what any of these differences. You know, they just look at it and they think, you know, it looks cool. Like, wow, you know, that's awesome. But when you study this stuff and you ride these different things and you know about bikes, then you know. Like, you know the difference between Shimano Dura Ace and Ultegra and 105 and the brand name wheel sets and opposed to the unbranded wheel sets. You could look at it and see that it's not the real decals and things like that. So that's another thing that I want to bring up. Okay. But let me just show you up close how these two look, and you'll see. Alright, so here are the Chinese carbon wheels. Look at the quality, look at how it looks. And then I put the decal on there. Okay, look at the hub. I don't like the way the hub looks, actually. Like, it just looks cheap. Here's the rear one. Alright, here's the brand name Mavic. Look at the decal that's on there. It says Cosmic. And then look at the decal right there, Mavic. Look at the right here. The spokes, that's what I was saying. Look at the spokes. Look at these spokes. I don't really like these spokes because this nipple right here makes the spoke look cheap. But this one doesn't show the nipple like that. Look at the hub. This hub, it looks like it's an aluminum hub. It doesn't look like it's carbon fiber. The hub is kind of cheaper. Look at the hub in the front. This is a 50 millimeter, and this is a aluminum brake this aluminum braking system right here. So compare the two side by side. The Chinese zip, or not the zip, Chinese carbon clinchers, and then the brand name Mavic. You see the difference in quality, or just the way that the carbon looks right here. It looks a lot more high quality than this one. Alright, now I'm going to show how it sounds when you spin the wheel, and you hear that loud clicking noise with the Chinese carbon clinchers that I'm talking about. So look at this. So that's really loud. So you hear that? Now listen to this one. This is the brand name Mavic. Like I said, if you want to get rid of that noise, you could just change out the hub. But like then I said, then you're spending more money. It doesn't make sense. But that's my feedback. But another thing is, when you spend so much money on the rims, on the wheels, like $1,600, if something happens, if it breaks, if you go over a pothole and then it bends and it breaks, then you're losing a lot of money right there, you know. But with the Chinese ones, if something happens to it, it breaks, you're not losing that much money. So that's another thing, you know. Like, the Chinese ones still visually look nice to me. It looks nice, but the brand name ones looks even nicer, you know. I did put the decals on the Chinese rims to make it look better than it did originally. But that's my feedback, you know. I think this is probably one of the most comprehensive feedbacks about these carbon wheels, and not a lot of people are into this type of biking and would actually spend out this type of money for wheels, so you don't really find too many reviews on these types of things that are genuine. Another thing that I wanted to bring up is this. They're like, oh, you know, I see in the comments, oh, you know, how could you get quality carbon wheels for $500? It's, you know, I'm afraid that I don't trust it, it's gonna break on you. That to me is a flawed argument as well, because $500 could buy you a bunch of different bikes. You know, you could buy a really a lot of bikes you could buy. You could buy a whole bike at Walmart for $100. You can even buy a brand name bikes like Trek, Giant, Specialized, Cannondale. You can find some brand name bikes for $500. So just to spend $500 on wheel sets, carbon wheel sets, that's still a lot of money to shell out. That's expensive. It's not like, oh, you know, these Chinese carbon wheels are, you know, $50. No, like, they're still charging like $500. That's still a lot of money. So it's possible to have high quality with $500, high quality carbon wheels. I just feel that the brand name wheel sets are just overpriced, you know. They just marked it up too much. I just don't really see a sense in having to spend $3,000 on brand name carbon wheels. It just doesn't make sense to me. A lot of carbon fiber bikes don't even cost over $3,000, and then you're spending $3,000 on just the wheels. It doesn't make sense to me. You know, it does make sense to spend, if you have a $10,000 bike and then you spend $3,000 on the wheels, that makes sense. But it doesn't make sense if your carbon fiber bike costs $3,000 and then the wheels cost $3,000 as well. That doesn't make sense to me. So that's why I really wanted to see if I could find some high quality carbon wheels for $500, you know. And another thing is, when you're buying from China and they're charging you $500 American dollars for their carbon wheels, chances are the $500 that you give them, to them is probably like $2,000 because of the differences in currency. So if you give him $500 American dollars, to them it's almost like them getting $2,000. And it makes a good deal for them, it makes a good deal for you, as long as the quality is there, you know. So basically what I'm saying is that if these carbon wheels were exactly the same as the brand name ones and you get to buy for $500, then that would clearly be a huge advantage, you know, towards the consumer. That rather than spending $3,000 on carbon wheels, you get the same quality for $500, you know. But it's not the same exactly. You know, there are the differences of which I specified. Now it's up to you. Is it worth, you know, to pay an extra $1,000 for the brand name or not? You know, I have both, so really it doesn't really matter to me, you know, because I tried both. Now I know. But to try to sell these back on the market is just not going to be worth it. I might as well just keep it and then, you know, just ride it. But yeah, I mean, I think if you're just starting off with the carbon fiber bikes, and your bike is say worth, you know, you spent like $1,000 on a carbon fiber bike, then to spend $500 on carbon wheels, it's a good start point. But if you're gonna spend like $7,000 on a carbon fiber bike, I do not recommend to put $500 carbon wheels on there that are not brand name. I recommend, you're gonna spend that much money on a bike, then you should also spend that money on the high quality brand name carbon wheels, you know. But that's my feedback. I really don't really have much else to say. Hopefully this video helps people out to get, you know, the best purchase that they can, you know, for the money. But honestly, I've tried the carbon fiber, the brand name carbon fiber handlebars, brand name carbon fiber seat post, and the stem. I don't really recommend to go that route. I would rather go to the Chinese unbranded carbon fiber material. Because obviously the Chinese have proven that they're capable of developing high quality carbon fiber products. And then they're also capable of developing lower quality ones. It's just the problem is when it's unbranded, you don't know if you could trust that product until you experience it. But once you experience it and you know that the quality is there, then that's all that matters. But that's the problem. People don't know until they hear from somebody's feedback. But in my opinion, I do not recommend to even spend the money on the brand name carbon fiber components when it comes to the seat post, the stem, the handlebars, the aero bars. But I do recommend to go for the brand names when it comes to the wheel set, the frame, and the gear set. Okay, so that's it for this video.